Okay, great. So what we're going to do today is it's quite long, it's 5 hours we're here for. So we're going to do meditation for about 40, 45 minutes, then we have a 15-minute break. Then we'll do another 45 minutes of meditation. And then a little bit break as well. So we'll have a break of about 15 minutes. And then I was going to do about a half hour or so of um, all the commitments. Who here has taken refuge space? I know you have. Amanda, but Matt and Robert haven't. So there's these commitments we have when we take refuge. And, if you're anything like me, we have to keep reading them because we kind of forget. So I hadn't chance to cover that in class. So I was going to go over that just to cover those. And then we'll have a lunch break. So lunch would be I think quarter to one Santa Fe time. We're all on a bit different time though, but whatever that translates to you, it's quarter to one Santa Fe time for 45 minutes. Is that enough time for everyone to have lunch? I think so, yeah. And then we'll do about another, yeah, we'll do, yeah, space, that's okay. Yeah, a little bit more meditation. I think finish off question answer, finish off that teaching if it's not finished, that topic. And then we'll do a final meditation. So there'll be about 3 meditations for about 45 minutes and some just going over those topics in the class. So let's just take a few minutes to get ourselves into meditation position. So, so this meditation is, of course, they're all geared around the practice of refuge, how we develop, refuge in our mind. Some of us have already got it developed, but we just need to deepen that practice. So it's a bit around the meditation's a bit around affirming our intention, our refuge, and how to be an inner being. And we have to be when we meditate, we have to be kind of quite in our body, not out of our body. So I'm using this kind of meditation on refuge to go sort of using it as we go through the body. So anyway, before we start to meditate, we want to just do a brief scanning exercise of the body from the crown all the way down to the toes, with breath and awareness and just breathing normally. But if you need a couple of deep breaths just to be present, inhale, deep inhalation, exhalation, just to be present. And then again, starting for the crown and just using breath and awareness to soften as we go through the body. Soften any tension, especially around the, facial muscles, jaw. Breathing in, soften, release, and relax, and let go the tension as we just go through the body. A bit like doing acupuncture on yourself. As you go through the body, just checking the posture, the spine, especially, that there's a sort of arrow-like energy from the sit bones all the way up through the crown. With breath and awareness, just set the shoulders back, open, the sort of across the shoulders, the chest is open, shoulders are down the back, falling down the back. Breathing a couple of breaths through the stomach area to soften and relax, just allowing the stomach to sort of open up, so we feel relaxed but clear. And the legs are in a position that sort of supports the upper part of the body. So the upper part feels like strong, like a pillar. In that space, let's do the 9-round breathing exercise. Again, just to clarify the mind a little bit more, clear the winds so the mind becomes clearer for meditation, bringing the first finger of the left hand closing off the right nostril and long breathing normally, but sort of long, slower, deep breaths. So we can breathe in kind of like for the count of 4, then holding the breath for the count of 4, and then releasing through the opposite nostril, the right nostril, for the count of 4, and then just having a space for the count of 4. So it's like 4 fours. Inhale through 4, hold for 4. Exhale through the opposite nostril for 4 and hold for 4. And do that 3 times on each side. Keeping soft through the jaw, through the back of the throat. The opposite side. And through both nostrils when you're ready. In that space, just clarifying your own intention for coming to the class for this practice day. What's the first thought that comes up in your mind? And if it's not, and then just sort of really deepening that a little bit on your own, in your own way. So first we're going to do a little bit of reflection. So as long as we take refuge in the 8 worldly concerns, that's what we first talked about in the class, the 8 worldly dharmas. So that much we're continually engaged through the sense consciousnesses, trying to have pleasure, avoid pain. gain some kind of material satisfaction. Sort of clinging more to hear pleasant sounds, avoid unpleasant sounds, or praise or criticism. That much we're engaged in clinging, being dependent on the sense objects for our happiness. That much our spiritual path is pretty much blocked. It's like the gateway to our inner wisdom is snubbed out, like when we snub out an open flame, or when we close all the curtains in a room and the sun can't enter. So generally, when we're busy with our life and we're not really engaging with our inner wisdom, we continually like snub it out, like this closing the curtains in a room. But as soon as we make a determination to sit, to engage our mental consciousness virtuously through inner reflection and meditation, it's from that space that we give our wisdom breath, an opportunity for the light to enter, the light of Dharma to enter. So how wonderful it is, this morning. Our intention is to be here on the cushion. To develop ourselves, to work with our mind. To make our lives better. With this intention, as we sit in the cushion, we're opening the gateway for our wisdom to function. It's the opposite of where we often are in the state of drowning ourselves in sensual activity and busyness. Even when we're not busy, there can be a way where we're not really engaging our wisdom in our daily lives. So when we sit down to meditate, it's like we're kind of in a semi-retreat. Being here in this moment, it's like the meditators who go up into the mountains and the caves to avoid distraction. We avoid the concerns of this life in that moment when we make the intention to open our wisdom. It's like our virtual cave. Here we're all in a virtual cave for the day, for a few hours. Focused on the development of our heart or our mind. Away from the 8 worldly concerns. So when we're clear on that, when we create this inner cave, even if it's just half an hour a day, this is the experience of refuge. Of becoming an inner being. I'm going to be with my mind now, my heart now, to try to develop it and give my seedling of wisdom an opportunity to grow and to shine. So that in a level, just in that moment when we think like that, that's that's renunciation, Giving up the 8 worldly concerns and giving our inner light of wisdom an opportunity to grow. So again, just getting to the cushion sitting on the chair. There's already, we're motivated. That's our first step. As we connect with the sensation of the sit bones on the cushion, there's a kind of earthiness to that feeling, just sitting on the cushion. There's a strength in the posture. And perhaps we can think like that, like the strength in my posture. May I develop a strength in mind on the path? To turn away more and more from taking solace in momentary pleasures to developing the real pillar of inner peace and happiness through the Dharma. May I like that, may I place myself firmly, clearly on the path to enlightenment. And just like the spine, really through the posture, the spine's like the main pillar in meditation. That's where the central channel is, the strongest psychic channel in our subtle body. Just like we draw a lot of strength in the spine, very much supports the body. May I have the strength and perseverance, the courage to keep developing my mind in the path. So the path to enlightenment, even just step by step, transforming our hearts, our minds, it takes a lot of determination to slowly shift the mind, move the mind into realization. So the posture, we try to gain a sort of this strength for the posture, using our posture to remind ourselves, to give strength to keep going. Even the mudra, there's this mudra, placing your hands on the lap. So the left hand's on top, the right hand's on top of the left, and the two thumbs are touching in the lap. So when we feel that mudra, it's like developing wisdom and compassion. Left hand's wisdom, right hand's compassion. So this reminds us that we're on the path of conjoining wisdom and compassion. May I continue to develop my heart in wisdom and compassion. So as a preliminary, when we connect with our posture, then we connect with the preciousness of being able to hear the teachings. So just being able to sit right now and apply the wisdom we have heard and the teachings to our hearts and minds, as we said, with the teachings on precious human rebirth, it's very, very rare, very fortunate. Something beyond any material object we can possess this life, the preciousness of bodhicitta, wisdom realizing emptiness. These are the goals we're aiming for, So anybody who has developed these, and when we come across people who are good-hearted, who have compassion, but when we come across like more beings who have really developed more deeply these qualities of wisdom, even if they haven't developed fully, but they're close to realizing the nature of mind, close to developing bodhicitta, they have this precious quality. So like that, may I be able to develop those precious qualities with this precious human rebirth. So our consciousness has this ability to carry and hold whatever goodness we achieve in this life through to our future lives. Like depositing money in a savings account. It continually accrues. The interest, the karma increases. As this nature of increasing. So whatever I develop this life will increase, will follow me into future lives. So that is one of the aspects of the preciousness of this human life. Slowly, slowly, the mind can develop due to the power of karma increasing. Because we have consciousness that carries on, we can also become like precious, for others. Gradually, gradually. So resultant refuge is having a kind of conviction in that process. The process, the continuity consciousness, and slowly developing this conviction that, our consciousness will continue to develop through future lives if we practice virtue. Due to having this tatagarbha or Buddha essence, this nature, that we have, that's with us in every moment. So how wonderful that is. We try to feel that more and more as we practice the preciousness of our Buddha nature, its ability to change and transform. That's the more we're convinced of that, the more we have inner refuge, resultant refuge. Causal refuge is relying on the beauty and vastness of the qualities of the outer three refuges, the three jewels, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, as well as the guru, the being, the teacher who you feel most embodies the qualities of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. So we have inner refuge, or resultant refuge, our conviction in the preciousness of this life, holding on to the qualities that we can develop in our heart and mind, and the causal refuge, taking more and more, leaning more and more on the qualities of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha to support us in that process of transformation. So just take a moment to think about where you are right now with causal refuge. How clearly, how deeply you take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. And how much we feel a conviction that our mind, our heart can change. Sorry, that's the wrong one. I want to share something, but I realize I don't have the document up on my screen. Sorry, give me a moment. So now we're going to do like a basic refuge practice to finish the meditation, but I realize I didn't put it up. I thought I had. Give me a moment. Um, okay. Okay, now I think I'm here. Sorry. Share screen. There we go. Got it now. Okay, you see that one? Oh, yep, right. So, the main way we take refuge is actually there's a practice in the tradition where we develop really our practice of refuge through doing, a daily practice. Some of you might be familiar, but this is the main way to develop the refuge practice by doing this kind of daily refuge practice, visualizing Shakyamuni Buddha and doing some mantras to kind of receive the blessing of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, so our conviction in them grows stronger. And it kind of gives a lot of inspiration and allows us, these kind of practices allow us for to deepen it. So every time we do them, they sort of purify the mind, so that when we hear teachings, they go deeper. We need a lot of purification, a lot of merit for our minds to shift. Simply listening to the teachings isn't always enough. We need something to continue to moisten the mind, to bring light to the mind. So that's the purpose of these kind of, purification practices. And of course, one of them is what we call the practice of taking refuge. So let's just take a moment to kind of maybe more deepen this sort of quality, causal refuge, taking refuge in Buddha, the outer Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. So we try to imagine, visualize, we're in a beautiful place. So everything's made of light, we're in maybe like a park. Imagine a park that you really enjoy. Trees, flowers, birds, the sky above, it's really vast and clear. So coming for those of you in Santa Fe, that's easy to imagine because we often have, very clear skies there, expansive. Just helps to open the mind a little bit when we absorb ourselves in that experience of being under a vast open sky. And then out of compassion for us, about the level of our forehead, just as we recall, we think of the Buddha, he starts to appear in the space before us, seated on a, what we'll call a lotus, as we see here. Beautiful, fragrant lotus seat. On top of that's the sun and moon cushion. The lotus showing the mind of renunciation, kind of freedom from worldly concern, that total freedom, detachment for worldly concern. The sun and moon, embodying the wisdom and bodhicitta, or compassion quality of the Buddha, fully developed, very bright and luminous. So when we're in the presence of someone like His Holiness Dalai Lama, we feel this luminosity just just naturally coming from them. And it illuminates us. Our mind feels brighter and clearer when you're in the presence of holy beings. So we try to feel that within the presence of a holy being. Just like Space is saying she's going to see a llama this afternoon, that you feel like this brightness, this light coming from them. It's the light of wisdom. And then the Buddha's beautifully seated, as he is here, in the lotus posture, or Vajra posture, holding this alms bowl filled with the nectar. Nectar is the Dharma, the medicine that purifies the disease of delusion, purifies our ignorance, attachment, anger. That's the medicine of the Dharma that the Buddha taught. And, he's got a beautiful, soft kind of smile, gazing upon me. And we feel all sentient beings around us, mother, father, mother on the left, father on the right, friends and family behind us. And even those who we struggle with, we have some resistance to being around them. They're kind of a little bit hard or tough people for us. We place them in front, kindly. And then just like grains of sand under the ocean, infinite beings around us, all in human form, seeking refuge. We're seeking refuge from our delusions. Main one is the ignorance that clings at the wrong view of self and causes all the other stream of delusions, anger, attachment, pride, jealousy, lack of equanimity towards others, all the other host of delusions that come because of the main one, wrong view of self. It kind of stupefies us, this ignorance, blocks our light of wisdom. So we take refuge in those who have developed that light of wisdom, who have developed equanimity towards every being equally. How wonderful that is. How wonderful I'm in a position today to do that. And I take refuge, not just for myself, but in half of all living beings who are similarly stupefied by ignorance, kind of a little bit locked up in karma and delusion. May we all awaken that wisdom. So we're going to do, as we recite the refuge, so Namo Guru Bhye, so it's in Sanskrit. We visualize light and nectar. So again, this is light and nectars to brighten the mind, the light of wisdom coming for the guru. So who is our main spiritual teacher? Do we have one? Maybe we have a few. So we feel the main one is the Buddha, but maybe we have a guru, a teacher. So we feel that the guru and the Buddha are the same, same essence. Our teachers and the Buddha are like kind of the same essence. And from them, their wisdom, all their qualities stream forth as we recite Namo Guru Bhyo a few times. White light and nectar coming, enters our body and purifying us of disease, harmful spirit, any obstacles, outer and inner obstacles that we have right now, get completely purified. So we're going to chant this a few times together and doing that cleansing. It's like a cleansing. First time we chant, we clean out obstacles from the guru. the teacher. Obstacles, maybe we haven't found a teacher yet, so maybe we want to purify that. If we have one, we feel distant sometimes, so we purify that. Whatever it is in terms of like gurus, teachers that we need purified, that's what we're purifying the first recitation, white light and nectar. So we'll do this 7 times together. I'll do one time and then you follow. Namo Guru Be. 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 So again, for the Buddha, light and nectar completely filling us up like a shower, or like a vase gets filled with water, with white light and nectar, and cleansing our obstacles. Like that with the Buddha, we do the same visualization. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. All our obstacles for receiving the qualities of the Buddha are again completely purified. So here we're just doing purification, cleansing meditation with each of the objects of refuge. Again with the Dharma, any obstacles to hearing the teachings, developing the teachings more deeply in our heart. We get completely purified as we recite this 7 times. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. So feel we're washed out, just like we wash our bodies, completely clear any obstacles to hearing the Dharma, realizing and understanding more deeply the Dharma, purified. The last one is Sangha, any obstacles we have to maybe having more Sangha in our lives, or meeting kind of faith and conviction in the Sangha. So feeling that gets completely purified. Again with this light and nectar. Namo Sangaya, Namo Sangaya, Namo Sangaya, Namo Sangaya, Namo Sangaya, Namo Sangaya, Namo Sangaya. So second part of the recitation, we're going to do 7 times again, each one, focusing on receiving the qualities of the Guru. So just in a brief way, the guru, the teachers who have all the different qualities and realizations, just like the Buddha, maybe the one that you have most faith and conviction in, or if not, we just think merely the Buddha, So the qualities of wisdom that are fully developed, qualities of compassion that are fully developed, wisdom realizing emptiness, bodhicitta, this equanimity and love for all sentient beings. Just as we see in the case of His Holiness. So if you have some faith in His Holiness, just think His Holiness, when we chant Namo Guru Bhyo. So receiving all the magnificent qualities, all the gurus, the holy beings who have practiced, who have achieved realizations, like golden light and nectar coming from every pore of Buddha's body and just filling us up like, the wealth of gold, like nectar. So we chant 7 times. Namo Guru Be, 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 Namo Guru Be. And we feel we've completely received all the qualities of the Guru. Same with the Buddha. So we can think, Buddha has these 3 bodies, Sambhogakaya. I mentioned in the class, the enjoyment body, the body that is beyond birth and death. Dharmakaya, the truth body that pervades all phenomena with omniscient wisdom. So we feel as we chant Namo Buddhaya, we're receiving all the qualities of the Buddha's holy body, speech, with 64 melodious qualities. So our body, speech, and mind get kind of purified in receiving the golden light and nectar of Buddha's holy body. So we chant 7 times. Namo Buddhaya, 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 Namo Buddhaya. Namo Dharmaya, we receive the light of the Dharma. This luminosity that, as I mentioned, is in the presence of all the beings who have achieved what we call the Holy Dharma. They've achieved the wisdom realizing emptiness. It's this incredible luminosity consciousness. So we receive that from the Dharma, all the texts that are the Buddha's teachings, the holy speech of the Buddha, in the form of texts, the 84,000 sets of teachings. All these qualities we receive when we chant Namo Dharmaya. And again, golden light and nectar. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. Then lastly, we receive the protection of the Sangha, the support of the Sangha, even though they haven't achieved all the qualities of the Buddha, like the Arhats, Bodhisattvas, they still very much developed on the path, so we need that support. So we feel receive the support of their realization, their kindness into our hearts, into our minds, as we receive the light and nectar. Namo Sangaya, Namo Sangaya, Namo Sangaya, Namo Sangaya. Namo Sangaya. Namo Sangaya. Namo Sangaya. Namo Sangaya. So, with this meditation, this practice, purifying our obstacles to receiving the blessing, the protection, the qualities of the Buddha Dharma Sangha. And then the other visualization, actually receiving the qualities of the Guru Buddha Dharma Sangha. We try to feel that we come completely under the guidance of the triple gem, the three jewels. It's like there's a holding that we receive when we do this practice, a holding with the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. They hold us in a certain way in our lives, in our hearts, in our practice. So we try to feel that for a moment. Just be in that experience, being held. And we make a short dedication just to kind of, we're not completely finished with the meditation, but we're taking a break, you know. May I and all beings be held under the guidance, supported, loved, and nourished under the guidance of the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Not just on the cushion, but when we're walking, talking, eating, maybe we always receive the guidance, the support, the inspiration of the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha in our lives, in our hearts, in our actions, in body, speech, and mind. Okay, so let's just take a short break. So we do maybe come back at 10 past 10, 10 past 11, or 10 past wherever you are. Just trying to hold a little bit the meditation, because we're just going to kind of keep doing that, something similar, you know, just walking you through what a refuge meditation looks like, trying to what refuge practice is. So we will come back at 10 past, wherever you are, and carry on with another meditation for about 45 minutes. So let's do another half hour or so in meditation. And then we'll take a bit of a longer, no, then we're going to take a short break and just go through a little bit of the refuge commitments, and then have lunch. So we'll do about another half hour or so in meditation first. So I'm going to share the practice again. Oh. Oh. Right. Let me share. Oh, sorry. Let me give me a minute. There. Right. Sorry, just taking a minute to do that. So let's get into our meditation position. Few breaths, just going through, scanning the body, scanning our posture. Again, main one is always the spine. And keeping the chin tucked under, the crown, so from the sit bones all the way through to the spine, the crown. We want to have this kind of pillar-like or arrow-like energy. Feeling the straightness and the strength of the back of the body to support the rest of the practice. As I said before, the thumbs, the kind of posture of having the mudra, the meditation mudra. I mean, the whole posture is a mudra, a gesture, posture, gesture. Mudra means more like gesture, but using the body in a way to support meditation, support inner development, the movement of the mind. So this one of the hands on the lap, the left supporting the right, just like left side of the body, so it's mainly connected with wisdom. So really we need the wisdom, realizing emptiness. When we realize our own nature, that very much supports the body, the development, the deeper development of our bodhicitta, our compassion for others, our wish to bring that knowledge to others. When we recognize our own confusion, when we get out of our own confusion and have this joyful, blissful freedom, then we want to bring that to others, so that wisdom supports the right hand bodhicitta. So we can think about that, I need wisdom, develop my wisdom to support my compassion. Otherwise, our compassion's kind of weak, it's not really deep. It's just really based on maybe, people having more physical problems or basic mental problems, but there's a deep layer of confusion that we're all under the control of, that unless we liberate ourselves from that, unless we awaken our own light of wisdom to really overcome that, we're not really able to deeply help others. And our bodhicitta won't really grow. So on the basis, the left hand, wisdom, right hand, bodhicitta, and then the two thumbs conjoined, really at the sort of base of the spine there, just below around the navel area. So these two qualities conjoined are like the full development of our mind, the Buddha nature. So it's like when my Buddha nature always be kind of ignited, with my actions of body, speech, and mind. So again, as we did the last time, we're going to do do a short motivation and then do again this Namo Guru Bhyo meditation, thinking a little bit more of the causes of refuge. What causes the quality of refuge to deepen within us? So I said the first, according as we move through the Lamrim, the causes of refuge deepen within us. And at the first level, first one is really getting to grapple with getting a good, clear sense of the continuity consciousness. So we have this, we have been traversing the realms, the animals, the hills, the pretas, the human, according to the Buddha's view, like us, like ourselves, all sentient beings have been traversing the realms of existence from beginningless rebirths. I mean, there's not a time when we haven't existed. There isn't a realm where we haven't been. We've been animals, spirits in the hills many, many times. It's hard, maybe hard to feel that. But even when we check the actions in our life, some of them are similar. Sometimes they can be similar to the karmas that these beings experience in those realms. You can get really sluggish and tired. Mind can be dull. It's a little bit like animal realm karma. It's not to beat ourselves up, it's just really to see the nature of things. So, like now we have this precious human existence. The main thing we want to take from that is to try to gift ourselves at the very early stages of the path, to gift ourselves again with our next precious human rebirth. Bring ourselves to a situation next life where we have access to Dharma, access to teachings, we have a curiosity and a sort of appetite for spiritual practice. And somehow, to meet the Dharma, relatively soon in our next life, so we can practice again. So the first cause of refuge is really thinking more deeply about that and creating the causes through our actions to have another precious human life by practicing the 10 virtues, avoiding the non-virtues, and also practicing as much generosity as we can so that we have the resources available to us in future lives to practice. Generosity brings future wealth, creates a cause for that. So we take at the first level, the lower capable being, we take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha to create imprints, a strong connection with Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha for future lives, to continue to progress on our path, because realizations take time, take lives. So we need to take care of future lives for ourselves so we can gradually benefit more and more beings. So with that thought, taking refuge, again, we just feel we're in a very beautiful place, feeling again the presence of the Buddha. We just left the Buddha there, so we didn't absorb the Buddha, so he's still present in the space before us, just clarifying you can say visualization, but actually imagining is better, because we kind of imagine with all our senses that the Buddha's there. The lotus has a fragrant smell, so we can feel like it's like you're in a beautiful garden where you smell all the roses and the different plants, like that. When the presence of the Buddha, there's this fragrance, coming from the lotus seed, having practiced pure morality. When holy beings pass away, there's often a scent that comes from the body, from us, ordinary beings. It's not a, not a nice smell, but from holy beings, there's a fragrance that comes from their holy body because they've developed realizations. There's no more attachment. So like that, Buddha's, like we see beautiful flowers, we see the presence of the lotus in the space before us. Then on top of that, the sun and moon cushion. The luminosity of the sun is the Dharma wisdom, realizing emptiness. Luminosity of the moon cushion is it kind of embodies bodhicitta, compassion, embracing all sentient beings. So the Buddha's a golden light, every atom has this quality, love of wisdom. He's adorned in the robes of a monk, fully ordained monk, showing again the importance of morality. Whether we are smart, it doesn't matter if we ordain this life, but we need to practice morality, non-harming of others. It's like the earth, the ground for realization is this basic practice in morality. Refraining from practicing, training, not harming others with our body, with our speech, with our mind. And again, holding this begging bowl, alms bowl, sorry, filled with the nectar of the Dharma. So for Buddhas, they don't need, food like we do. They subside on the food of samadhi, meditation. And the whole body's just, has this aura of peace and bliss. And gazing single-pointedly on me and all sentient beings around me, sitting simultaneously, looking to the Buddha for refuge, refuge from our own minds, from our own delusions, seeking to pacify them and develop all the inner qualities. So again, we're going to go through step by step, doing a little bit more of the purification, just thinking a little bit more deeply about the causes of refuge as we purify. Namo Guru Bhya. So causes of refuge, as we said, first one, it's like they say a fear of the lower realms, but it's really like that's true, but really a recognition of our continuity of consciousness, taking care of that for future lives through our practice of virtue in this life. So Namo Guru Bhya on that basis. And the second one is thinking about the qualities of the guru, the teachers that we were talking about just now. The power of their words when we hear them or read them. His Holiness, so many people, even if they're non-Buddhist, somehow His Holiness's speech is able to reach them in a very simple way, but very profound way. So when we think about the qualities of the teachers and their kindness, that develops our faith and a closeness. So qualities, like we mentioned about Lama Zopa Rinpoche, and also their kindness in developing, like Lama Yeshe, Lama Zopa, have, through their inspiration, we have so many Dharma centers in FPMT, we have Thupten Norbaling. So this was all done for us, not just to have centers so the Lamas can have a name and a title or be famous, but it's really done out of their concern for us, because we need centers, we need Sangha, we need Western teachers, Tibetan teachers who come to support the centers. That all came through the inspiration of Lama Zopa Rinpoche, His Holiness Lama Yeshe. So we are connected with them. We are the object of their prayers. There's no doubt. Even as Amanda shared, while Rinpoche's praying for the ants, he's praying for us too. That's the power of bodhicitta. So trying to feel the qualities and the kindness of the teachers develops our faith and conviction. So again, Namo Guru Bhya, we're going to do some, maybe a few more times, you can take your mala and you can do it like this, like moving the mala. And we're going to purify any obstacles we have to feeling a little bit closer with the teachers. Now, maybe that's because of past life karma, but it's really about remembering their qualities and kindness that brings a closeness to the gurus, to the teachers. So we think about that and purifying any obstacles to that, first of all, with the first recitation. So we'll do a few, and then we'll do the Namo Guru Bhya, the golden one afterwards. So we'll start with the first one. Namo Guru Be, 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 Namo Guru Be. So again, all our obstacles to meeting, feeling close, having a deeper faith and conviction in our teachers who embody the teachings, gets completely purified by the light and nectar. What does that mean? When we purify, it's like the mind softens and opens and clarifies. So the next visualization, receiving the qualities of the teachers. Again, like His Holiness, actually one Lama was here last weekend, Serkon Senshab, and he talked about His Holiness. And one Lama, one of His Holiness's gurus, Kunu Lama Rinpoche, was a great bodhisattva who lived in India in a very Sarnath. It's a very hot place. And he lived very, very simply. Even he didn't have time to buy new glasses. One of the kind of, glass frames of his glasses was always broken. Not because he didn't like himself, but because he had this kind of really strong, what we call contentment or renunciation. And he lived at a crossroads. It's Kuna Lama Rinpoche. He wrote many verses on praise of bodhicitta. And His Holiness went to receive teachings from him. So you can imagine he's a very special being. He received teachings on the Bodhisattva's way of life. And when His Holiness went to his place in Sarnath, so he lived at this very busy crossroads and he, had the windows open a lot. It was really hot. And he said, how can you live here, practice here with all this noise? Because in India, traffic's really noisy. They like to toot the horns a lot. And he just said that he didn't, it didn't affect his mind at all, So for us, even just small noises can be difficult to meditate, but that's the power of a deep level of concentration and a deep level of renunciation. No matter what's going on outside, the mind's always in peace. So let's try and feel that peaceful quality. Imagine what that would be like, and we receive all that peace from the gurus as we chant Namo Guru Bhya. Like golden light and nectar, just filling us up with this rich quality peace. Namo Guru Be, 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 Namo Guru Bye, 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 Namo Guru Bye. So our whole body's filled with this gold light nectar. And just feel for a moment we get absorbed in that peace that all the gurus feel, when the mind's free of delusion. It's like the deep peace that we find at the depths of the ocean. Everyone's really still. So Namo Buddhaya, receiving the qualities of the Buddha. So again, just reminding ourselves, the refuge, as I said, one of the causes of refuge is fear. As I say, an awareness, becoming aware that we could, there's a possibility, it's a danger that we're going to have a lower rebirth at the time of death. So it's said, that just by the power of taking refuge at the death time, if we have a familiarity with that, that can protect us from the lower realms. Visualizing the Buddha, taking refuge in the causal refuge in the outer Buddha, inner refuge in our own potential to become Buddha, that can free us at the time of death from a lower rebirth. So we have to think about that, have a familiarity with that, so when the death time comes, we remember the Buddha. Just like the robes of the monk show his pure morality. That's what causes us to move out of the lower realms, always be born in higher states, in the human realm and the God realms. In the higher realms, it's the practice of pure morality, not harming others with our body, speech, and mind. So we take refuge in that quality, the Buddha's deep, deep morality over many lifetimes. May that ripen in me. And all the other qualities, that the Buddha embodies, his holy body, speech, and mind. We first of all imagine light and nectar purifying us to be able to practice pure morality. What's stopping us? Maybe it's more like actions with the mind, it's difficult not to have judgmental thoughts, ill will towards others. Sometimes the speech is an obstacle to have kind speech, So purifying us, so at least we can have kind speech, more beneficial speech, as in the quality of the Buddha. So we purify first. Namo Buddhaya, 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 Namo Buddhaya. Then receiving the qualities, the golden light and nectar. So remove the obstacles to practicing pure morality, one of the qualities of the Buddha, and then receiving the golden light and nectar to be able to have the wealth of the Buddha's morality. All the qualities of the Buddha's body. Every pore can reach out and benefit infinite sentient beings. And it's beyond the basic body, the Buddha's beyond birth and death, you know. So there's no more suffering, old age, sickness, birth and death. It's a body made of simply wisdom and compassion. It's born from that. So may I and all beings have that, and may receive that quality as we chant the mantra. Namo Buddhaya, 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 Namo Buddhaya. So feeling we receive all the blessing and protection of the Buddha. So our minds has the power, the ability, the power of morality to always be born in higher rebirths, to move up in our practice instead of down. Namo Dharmaya, thinking about the second cause of refuge, according to the sort of middle scope, the path, fear of samsara, recognizing this continuity of rebirths and wanting to escape that, you know, internally in our minds. So Dharma is anything that holds us up from suffering, protects us from suffering, protects us from the delusions, pacifies the delusions. So instead of chasing kind of more the comforts of this life, we want to take refuge in the Dharma. Like, you know, the worldly attachments are kind of like drinking salt water. There's never we don't get satisfied by that, you know, it doesn't quench us. Keeps us in the dark room of confusion. So when we do Namo Dharma, we want to receive the light of the Dharma. These 84,000 sets of teachings that the Buddha taught, all condensed here in Discovering Buddhism into the Lam Rim. It's like the light that guides us out of the closet of darkness we're in. So Namo Dharmaya, we receive light and nectar from the Buddha, and thinking that the Buddha embodies all the texts, all the thousands of texts and teachings, the 3 baskets of teachings, all the Lam Rim, all the holy speech, all the gurus, Buddhas, bodhisattvas. So first of all, receiving light and nectar, purifying our obstacles to deepening our understanding of the Dharma and these texts. Namo Dharmaya, 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 Namo Dharmaya. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. So we feel kind of washed out, like we're taking a shower, an internal shower, all our obstacles to the Dharma, having a deeper insight into the Dharma are purified. And then we receive the golden light and nectar, feeling that all our understanding of the Dharma gets more developed as we receive the light and nectar. Namo Dharmaya, 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 Namo Dharmaya. So especially through the light and nectar, we have a deeper insight into the nature of our delusions. That's really what creates a deep awareness of samsara, having a deeper insight how to the delusions kind of control us, disturb the mind. Namo Sangaya. So we do this, we can think about the third cause of refuge, the Mahayana motivation. As I mentioned, so as we move through the Lamrim, we deepen our refuge, as we deepen our motivation. Lamrim's all about transforming our motivation from just being about finding the happiness of this life, as we are sort of more brought up to do, and more about expanding our motivation into, achieving enlightenment, recognizing that possibility, that potential we have, not just for ourselves, but expanding it to all sentient beings. As we move out of samsara and suffering ourselves, delusion, that much we want to hold the motivation to move others, develop the quality and ability to free other sentient beings. As the noble Sangha are doing, the Bodhisattvas are part of the Sangha. So they're doing this. They're not Buddhas yet, but they're still benefiting sentient beings. Holding morality, Bodhisattva vows, Tantric vows. So like us, they are still in training, but they can inspire and guide us. So we purify our any obstacles to receiving blessing and protection of the Sangha, to becoming more of a Sangha ourselves for others. Namo Sangaya, 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 Namo Sangaya. So again, all our obstacles to becoming more of a good example for others, really. So what Sangha have, they inspire by their conduct, by their practice. So we purify. And then we receive all these qualities of the Sangha, especially those who are, still having this courage to develop their mind on the path. That's what the example they show. Continue to do developing, no matter how long it takes, with this perseverance, to become fully enlightened. So we receive that, all their qualities, as we receive the golden light and nectar. Namo Sangaya, 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 Namo Sangaya. Taking a moment in that space to try and feel the quality of the visualization and the mantra recitation, just how it affects our mind, our heart, our experience in meditation. Just be with that for a moment. And then we feel that now in all sentient beings, now I and all sentient beings have come under the protection and the guidance of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Through the power of this practice, through the power of my conviction, whatever level our faith is, whether it's at the level of just being inspired by the Buddha's teachings, the qualities of the Dharma and Sangha. Maybe we have more faith and convictions more at the aspirational level. We have more aspiration to achieve the qualities of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Where's our level of aspiration at? Just checking up. Or maybe we're moving more into the level of conviction, feeling a more sort of solid type of faith in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and in the gurus. Faith and conviction in their qualities and their ability to guide us. Is that deepening a little bit more in us? When we recognize that deepening, that shift, as we move from the different levels of faith, we can rejoice, how wonderful it is. Because it's that faith and conviction that really moves our practice, inspires the practice, gives the energy to our practice. Not just in the outer qualities, but also our inner, what we call our conviction and our inner, the resultant refuge, our ability to achieve those qualities. How much is that growing? Do we feel a bit more confidence in our ability for our mind to transform into the stages of the path, into the Lam Rim? And to finish the meditation, we just imagine the Buddha now in the space before us, definitely with us, definitely present, feeling the presence through all our senses. Again, through feeling the presence of the Buddha, not just through mental consciousness, but through, it's like we could reach out and touch the Buddha like he's present. And he slowly dissolves into light, a ball of golden light, from like mist in a mirror, dissolving from top to bottom, but just moving into a small ball of golden light, not disappearing completely. The light is golden and yet transparent, full of energy. Just like the sun has incredible energy, that energy brings growth in the world. It sustains us as light, and it has an energy to sustain and bring growth to to that we need, to sustain our lives. Like that, the Buddha sustains us. So it's a very powerful energy. Coming to the crown of our heads. And dissolving through our crown. So we receive, as the golden light absorbs, we receive the qualities of the Buddha's body at the level of the crown. Again, one of the qualities is Dharmakaya, truth body. So every pore is in the nature of wisdom. Every pore experiences bliss and peace. So that vibration goes through our whole body. So our pores get transformed into that as well. That golden light moves down into the area of our throat and fills our throat chakra with golden light energy. And we receive all the qualities of the Buddha's speech, the 64 melodious qualities, all the qualities of the Dharma. There's sets of teachings, that liberate this liberating quality of the Dharma. We receive in our speech, in our throat chakra. So that our speech also has the power to benefit others. We can imagine whatever we're saying helps to kind of liberate others, subdue the confusion. Then it reaches the level of our heart, and our whole body starts to just fill out with light, like a light fills a room, dark room, when we switch it on. It illuminates the darkness of confusion, the self-grasping in the mind. And we try to feel like the deep peace, as I say, like the bottom of the ocean, mixed with the clarity and vastness of the sky, just pervade our whole being, where there is no sense of an I. We're just like vast space or consciousness. This is me. Only all the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, all the holy beings, this is me. In this space, there is no I. So when our mind's mixed with the mind of the Buddha, there's no appearance of an individual I. There's no appearance of an individual other. It's not that we don't exist, but we don't exist in any sort of solid, concrete way. How we exist is what we call merely labeled by mind. Very subtle, deep, vast, expansive way. In the nature of pure wisdom, pure bliss, pure compassion. This is my ultimate nature. So we just feel that's at least ignited a little bit through this practice. Okay, let's come out of your meditation when you're ready. We will do dedications at the end of the day. So perhaps we'll take about, so are we doing okay? Do you want to have lunch now? Or I thought we'd just take a 10-minute break and then do about 20 minutes and have a break, as I said, about 1:45 for about 40. Is that okay with everyone? Great. Okay, so we'll see you in well, quarter. Do is just since it came up, I'll just briefly go over the benefits. So we're just going to do now and then maybe for about another half hour when we start again. Just a few things in the class I didn't cover. Where are we now? The qualities here. Which one? Yeah. Not there. Oh, okay. Just have to move this a little bit for me. Like just very briefly going into the qualities, the 8 benefits of taking refuge, since you were sort of hitting on that, Amanda. What happens when we start to take refuge? We become an inner being. We become more and more aware of our Buddha nature. That's really what it means, and we get more feeling for that through that practice. Namo Guru Bhai, Namo Buddhaya, doing that, studying the qualities of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and recognizing that that is something I can develop. That's wonderful, That's what we need to feel, how wonderful it is. Even though I've got all my stuff now, I've got a whole bag of, I'm a bit of we're all a mixed bag, a karma and delusion. We have some good stuff that we've already developed, and we have some other stuff that needs work, that's it. So, but the more we take refuge, we become like an inner being. That means that basically Dharma wisdom is always with us. We develop more and more our flame of Dharma wisdom. So taking refuge also means that when you take refuge, you can take vows. So what vows are we talking about, Zayla, when we may say take vows? Just for those, maybe Matt and Robert, who may not be aware what that means. What are the vows, Zayla, that you would be able to take on the basis of refuge?
I'm sorry. what are the vows that I would take,
Yeah,
or
that one can take on the basis of refuge.
oh,
It says there, when you take refuge, then you become a candidate. That means that you can take vows on the basis of refuge. What are they?
the vows, take refuge in the Buddha, the Sangha, or are you talking about like not killing, not lying, not
Yes, yeah,
stealing?
yeah.
Okay. Not killing, not lying, not stealing, or um not using sex to harm another being, no intoxicants.
Great. Yeah, yeah, that's it. Yeah, yeah, the five lay vows. Thank you, Zayla. Sorry, I put you on the spot. So what that means is when you take you can take these vows, the five lay vows. It's lifetime vows, as Zayla said. Amanda, you've probably taken them already. Zayla, you've taken a number already. So then on that basis, once you take refuge, you can take vows. The other vows you can take are bodhisattva vows, which again, when you study the bodhicitta module, you'll find more about. But again, to develop bodhicitta, you need vows. They're like the container for the bodhicitta to ripen in you. And then you can take tantric vows, when we're a little bit more involved in the path, but we need the refuge vows really is, as I say, is a container for all the other vows. So we need to take refuge first. The other benefit I mentioned in taking refuge is that if at the time of death, if we take strong refuge, we're familiar with that practice, that feeling, what that feels like, the experience of that, then at the death time when we take refuge, it will protect us and hold us up for a lower rebirth and have a good future rebirth. Ideally, we like all these sort of good qualities of meeting the Dharma, meeting a spiritual teacher, having a strong appetite for that from our own side. So we've already done some of this in our past life. Yeah, that's why we're here. We've already taken care to a certain extent of our past life. That's why we're here now. So we just want to continue on with that. That's at least at the level of the lower scope. The other thing of taking refuge is it means that you're always creating merit, a sort of goodness in the mind because of the power of the objects of refuge. And you're purifying as well because the mind's moving out of delusion and into more and more goodness, into more and more wisdom due to the power of that refuge practice that we're doing. So by meditating on the qualities of the three jewels before we start practice, just even a little bit thinking about the qualities of the Buddha, the gurus, their kindness, it sort of purifies the mind. It creates this basis for other realizations. The other thing that it does is that we won't be bothered by harmful creatures or humans. So it creates a certain, as I said, when we do this practice of chanting the mantras and then receiving the sort of the wisdom and we do the absorbing the Buddha, there's something in there that due to the power of the Buddha's prayers for us, his compassion for us, it protects us from harm. There's a protection going on there that I think is quite visceral, the more and more you develop your refuge. So, for example, one friend who, I might have mentioned this again during the class, one friend who, yeah, actually, Lama Zopa mentioned Rinpoche mentioned when they were in India, when all the Tibetans in 59, they had to flee from Tibet because of the invasion of Tibet. And they were put in a concentration camp in India, not because they were prisoners, but at that time they were allowed into India. They were as refugees. And as we know, when people arrive in countries from other countries, they're usually put in difficult places because, the country doesn't have somewhere to hold them. So they were put in this ex-concentration camp called Buxa in South India, all the monks, and that's where they studied for many years. They weren't prisoners, but that's the only place the Indian government could hold them, So that was the place they had for them at the time. Later on, they were given land, and now they've built monasteries down in South India and sort of re-established a big Dharma community down there, of monastic institutions. But for the first few years, they lived very simply in this ex-concentration camp. So it was there was a lot of it was a very difficult area. It was very hot. and a lot of dangerous animals like snakes and things like that, you know. So Rimshi said at that time that they didn't receive, even though there was wild animals in the jungle because they were in a jungle area, there was like poisonous snakes, none of the monks received harm because of the power of refuge. So often when you're in difficult or harmful situations, it's said just in that moment, take refuge, and that can create a protection for you, you know, just due to the power of the Buddha's blessings. The other thing, due to the power of strong refuge practice, we will more quickly achieve what we're wishing for, you know, our temporary and long-term aims. Mostly in terms of spiritual practice, but also anything else virtuous that you want to accomplish for others, to benefit others. It creates a solid basis or foundation for that. And of course, the other benefit is we will achieve enlightenment quickly, you know, because it really is refuge of the power in the practice of morality, observing karma, is the foundation for other spiritual practice, for our realizations to grow. That's why it comes in this part of the Lam Rim, because the previous modules were very much about sort of preparing the mind and being inspired to take refuge and giving us energy for spiritual practice. And the rest of the Lam Rim, as you go through it, will very much be about really getting clear on the nature of samsara, the situation we're in, the nature of delusion, how it functions in the mind, and how we can remove them from the mind. And then the last part of the Lim Rim is very much about developing the wisdom realizing emptiness. And of course, this incredible mind-body chitta that can, benefit many, many beings, through skillful means. So again, meeting the refuge objects, once again, you will study. So again, what it creates is this, when we take refuge every day, if we just take a moment to think about it, if we're chanting the refuge prayer, doing these refuge mantras, and we think about what refuge means, deepen our commitment, then it creates the karma for us to meet the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha in every lifetime, as we have now. Some of us met the Dharma earlier, some of us met it later, but still we're here. We have some karmic connection because we've done this in previous lives, And eventually we will be able to accomplish these kind of higher trainings and eventually achieve enlightenment. So that's kind of how this path is. We want to continue to create the karma to meet the path again and again and gradually develop the mind. So it's not an instant instant enlightenment here. We're talking about over some lifetimes, Okay, so that's just briefly those. And let me just, I have to zip through now and get the rest of the other ones slides, sorry, are a little bit later on. It's just quicker for me to do it this way. Oh, here we are. That's it. So for those of you, because I think Matt and Robert haven't taken official refuge, eh? So, what happens, just to go over, it's good to know, it might be helpful to know what a refuge, when we take refuge, even for Zayla and Amanda and like myself, I have to read these from time to time to remind myself, well, once we take the ceremony of refuge, it's a bit like, I think in Christianity, when you get christened, you decide this is your path and you take, the God and Jesus are your objects of refuge, you have full faith in them. So you decide to get christened and follow the precepts of Christianity. So similarly, here, there's a ceremony that happens. I think Geshe Sherab might be giving that ceremony tomorrow, yeah. So there's that's great. So there's these commitments that you have to take and have to try and keep. And for those of us who have done that, again, we need to remind ourselves from time to time, what are those commitments? So actually it's 1:45, I just realized. So maybe we will stop here and I'll go over them after so 45 minutes, we come back at 1:30. 1:30 for you. And we will go through these and then we'll do one more meditation. We might finish slightly earlier because we've got one more meditation. We had shorter breaks. So we'll do this, have a short break and do one more meditation. and any room for Q&A is always good too, or sharing. Yeah. So yeah, enjoy lunch, and we will see you in 45 minutes.